conversation with an alien or conversation with God. Chapter 18, Book 3, Trilogy. Tell me more about high-level civilizations and high-level beings or hubs. Outside of the fact that they don't kill each other for any reason. Oh yeah, right, yeah. The Akashic record is there in history to show otherwise. What else makes them different from us? Okay, the guy who asked, tell me more about high-level civilizations and high-level beings. Outside of the fact that they don't kill each other for any reason, what else makes them different from us? They share. Hey, we share. No, they share everything with everyone. Not a being goes without. All the natural resources of their world, of their environment, are divided equally and distributed to everyone. A nation or a group or a culture isn't taught to own a natural resource simply because it happens to occupy the physical location where the resource is found. The planet or planets, which a group of species calls home, is understood to belong to everyone, to all the species in their system. Well, this doesn't apply here in some part of the world, in some continent where they say it's only for this specific races and culture, and certain others are for everybody. Do you know what I mean? In that system, indeed, the planet or group of planets itself is understood to be a system. It is viewed as a whole system, not as a bunch of little parts or elements, any one of which can be eliminated, decimated, or eradicated without damage to the system itself. Well, I heard it otherwise. I heard that according to an account of a human who claimed to have been missing for a long stretch of time in the USA, and then she returns to tell that she was in that planet that is not very far away from Earth. It's the nearest of all. It's called Alpha Centauri, something like that. And in there, she said that she had a husband, and also a husband on Earth, and a husband in there, and that she was with her another husband, and that over there, whoever does not work is shamed in the street. A kind of how to call that thing, a blame, something is placed on their neck, and I show I am idle, I am useless, and then he sits there and he begs, under humiliated and ostracized by the rest of the society, of that society specifically. And in there you don't get money. There's no money currency as you see it here. However, over there they have what they call services exchange. Like, okay, you work, and in order for you to get that bounties and that privilege, you have to work. If you don't work, you are going to be on the street, just like in here. All right, and you don't get the money. You don't get a salary, a paycheck. All you got is a house and travel. That's it. House and travel, and your basic bare necessities. Not what you want, but what they want to give to you. So this is pretty much a kind of hive mentality, I would say, is a hive mentality system over there, and pretty much dictator and communist. The ecosystem, as we call it, well, it's larger than that. It's not just the ecology, which is the relationship of the planet's natural resources to the planet's inhabitants. It's also the relationship of the inhabitants to themselves, to each other, and to the environment. I guess that this dude is from Agartha, okay? He's from Agartha, he or she is from Agartha, and he's not talking about off-world, not talk about other world, rather they talk about the earth itself, the interior of the earth, intraterrestrial. So they are terrestrial. They are not aliens at all, they are terrestrial. It's the interrelationship of all the species of life. The species system. The species system. Yes, I like that word. It's a good word because what we are talking about is larger than the ecosystem. It is truly the species system, or what your Buckminster Fuller called the noosphere. Noosphere. I like species system better. It's easier to understand. I always wondered what in blazes the noosphere was. Bucky likes your word too. He's not attached. He always liked whatever make things simpler or easier. You are talking to Buckminster Fuller now? You have turned this dialogue into a cease? Let's just say I have reasons to know that the essential which identified itself as Buckminster Fuller is designed with your new word. Wow, that's great. I mean, that's so cool to just be able to know that. It's cool, I agree. So, in high level Vedic culture is the species system that matters. Yes, but it isn't that individual beings don't matter. Quite to the contrary. Oh, maybe only the elite for them matters. Only the elite. The fact that individual beings do matter is reflected in the fact that effect on the species system is uppermost when considering any decision. It's understood that the species system supports all life and every being at the optimum level. Doing nothing that would harm the species system is therefore a statement that each individual being is important. Not only the individual beings with status or influence or money, not only the individual beings with power or size or the presumption of greater self-worthiness, all beings and all species in the system. How can that work? How can that be possible on our planet? The wants and needs of some species have to be subordinated to the wants and needs of others, or we couldn't experience life as we know it. That's the matrix you are talking about. Verbal violation and abuse of power. You are moving dangerously close to the time when you will not be able to experience life as you know it, precisely because you have insisted on subordinating the needs of most species to the desires of only one. For a few elites, the human species. Yes, and not even all members of that species, but only a few. Not even the largest number, which might have some logic to it. but by far the smallest. Of course, the smallest few, the one that have money, power in their how to say it, and their minions. The rest can go to hell. The richest and the most powerful. You have called it. Here we go, another tirade against the rich and the accomplished. Far from it. Your civilization does not deserve a tirade any more than a room full of small children deserves one. Human beings will do what they are doing to themselves and to each other until they realize that it's no longer in their best interest. No amount of tirades will change that. If tirades changed things, your religions would have been far more effective long before now. That's true, that's very, very true, and it failed miserably to, just like the elites and other classes, to group a few privileged one and the others are set as outcast. The sinner, the adocina, the infidels, the how to say it, they are the contra all this. So wow, zip zing, you are getting everyone today, aren't you? I'm doing nothing of the sort. Are these simple observations stinging you? Look, then, to see why. This much we both know. The truth is often uncomfortable. Exactly. I agree. 1000%. Chet, this book has come to bring the truth, as have others which I have inspired, and movies, and TV programs. I'm not sure I want to encourage people to watch TV. For better or worse, TV is now the campfire of your society. It's not the medium that is taking you in directions you say you do not wish to go. It's the messages you allow to be placed in there. Do not denounce the medium, the media. You may use it one day yourself to send a different message, that's true. It's not totally, I don't see the media as negative totally, but it's partly, but we choose to watch what we want. It is there for us. It's just coming on a plate for us. We choose which one to eat. Let me get back, if I can. Can I get back to my original question here? I'm still wanting to know how a species system can work with the needs of all species in the system treated equally. The needs are all treated equally, but the needs themselves are not all equal. Of course, exactly. There where lies the difference. All have what they need, not in an equation, not in an equal portion, but not what they want, isn't it? That's where the line, where we draw the line here, is a question of proportion and of balance. Highly evolved beings deeply understand that all living things within what we have chosen here to call the species system have needs which must be met if the physical forms that both create and sustain the system are to survive. Correct. They also understand that not all these needs are the same or equal in terms of the demands they place on the system itself. Let's use your own species system as an example. Okay, let's use the two living species you call trees and humans. I am with you. Obviously, trees do not require as much daily maintenance as humans. Yeah, we are just I see weight and the ecosystem, very great heavy weight as a human, so their needs are not equal. Yet they are interrelated. There is one species depends on the other. I heard that trees were our ancestral and that they were turned into trees. I heard that they are our ancestral and they were turned into trees so as not to give so much problem, so much responsibility to the system. You must pay as much attention to the needs of trees as to the needs of humans. That's correct. Plant more trees. And then don't go around cut them when they are 1 year old, 2 years old. That's nonsense. Then you replant again, then cut again, then replant again. For what? When the tree takes about hundreds of years to give all the oxygen the planet needs. I see this trend in many continents, But the needs themselves are not as great. Yet, if you ignore the needs of one species of living thing, you do at your peril. That's true. And that's our forest and water bodies. We pollute it, we death it. We abuse the lakes, the rivers, the sea, that we draw life in our sustenance from. And so does our forest, our woods, etc. And then they still wonder why disasters occur, why nature fights back. The book I mentioned earlier as being of critical importance, The Last Hours of Unshine Sunlight, describes all of this magnificently. It says that trees take carbon dioxide out of your atmosphere using the carbon portion of this atmospheric gas to make carbohydrates, that is, to grow. Nearly everything of which a plant is made, including roots, stems, leaves, even the nuts and fruits which the tree bears, are carbohydrates. Meanwhile, the oxygen portion of this gas is released by the tree. It's the tree's waste matter. Human beings, on the other hand, need oxygen to survive. Without trees to convert the carbon dioxide, which is plentiful in your atmosphere, into oxygen, which is not, you as a species cannot survive. You in turn breathe out carbon dioxide, which the tree needs to survive. Do you see the balance? Exactly, magnificent. Exactly. Of course, it is ingenious. Thank you. Now please quit destroying it. Good answer. Very good. Stop destroying the trees. And they were our ancestors. Stop destroying nature, the forest. Stop polluting our waters. Oh, come on. We plant 2 trees for everyone we cut down. Oh, you are being ironic now, huh? Yes. And it will take only 300 for those trees to grow to the strength and size which will allow them to produce as much oxygen as many of the old growth trees you are chopping down. Exactly. The oxygen manufacturing plant, which you call the Amazon rainforest, can be replaced in its capacity to balance your planet's atmosphere in, say, 2,000 or 3,000 years. Not to worry. You are clearing thousands of echoes every year. But not to worry. Yeah, exactly, not to worry until it's too late for them to do anything about it. Why? What are we doing that? You clear the land so that you can raise cattle to slaughter and eat. Raising cattle is said to provide more income for the indigenous peoples of the rainforest country. So all this is proclaimed to be about making the land productive. In highly evolved civilization, however, eroding the species system is not looked as productive, but rather destructive. So heads have found a way to balance the total needs of the species system. They choose to do this rather than serve the desires of one small portion of the system. For they realize that no species within the system can survive if the system itself is destroyed. Exactly. They can plant cassava, they can plant trees, and there's a lot of trees there for them to eat, a lot of carbs, a lot of fish. They are just lazy to work. So what more these people want? Go work, lazy bums. Go to the plantation and plant. The soil is good, you can plant potatoes, inclusive sweet potato, cassava, yams, all roots. There are bananas, there's all kind of fruits there that can sustain them. There's the fishes. What more they want? Huh? There's certain people who doesn't eat anything one whole week. And that's the homeless people. Man, that seems so obvious. That seems so painfully obvious. And not to mention the animals, the stray animals, doesn't eat anything. The obviousness of it may be even more painful or not in the years ahead if your so-called dominant species doesn't wake up. I get that, I get it big, and I want to do something about it. But I feel so helpless, I sometimes feel so helpless. What can I do to bring about change? Bring forward and see, but then they are trying to stop it. They try to stop us. There is nothing you have to do, but there is a great deal you can be. Help me with that. Human beings have been trying to solve problems at the doing and see level for a long time without much success. That's because true change is always made at the level of being, not doing. Oh, you've made certain discoveries, alright, and you have advanced your technologies, and so in some ways you have made your lives easier, but it's not clear whether you have made them better. And on the larger issues of principle, you have made very slow progress. You are facing many of the same problems of principle that you have faced for centuries on your planet. Your idea that Earth exists for the exploitation of the dominant species is a good example. You clearly will not change what you are doing around that until you change how you are being. You have to change your idea about who you are in relationship to your environment and everything in it before you will ever act differently. It's a matter of consciousness, and you have to raise consciousness. Exactly. Before you can change consciousness. Exactly. And we being that. It's not enough for us to come here and preach, but we need be that which we preach, isn't it? How can we do that? Stop being quiet about all this. Speak up. Raise a ruckus. Raise the issues. You might even raise some collective consciousness. On just one issue, for instance, why not grow hemp and use it to make paper? Do you have an idea how many trees it takes? How many trees it takes just to supply your world with the daily newspaper? To say nothing of paper cups carrying out cartoons and paper towels. Hemp can be grown inexpensively and harvested easily and used not only for making paper but the strongest rope and the longest lasting clothing and even some of the most effective medicines your planet can provide. They don't want this because it's cheap. There is no much taxes to be made, isn't it? No much taxes to be made. Not to say that the hemp, per se, hemp which comes from the cannabis, is good for pain. It alleviates pain, and many other, even for cancer. But I'm not propagating smoking. I'm talking about make tea out of it. Tea. Taking a tea of it doesn't going to kill you. Or damsel in distress humans. It's not going to kill you, you know. In fact, cannabis can be planted so inexpensively and harvested so easily and has so many wonderful uses that there is a huge lobby working against it because it doesn't make any money, any tax, I tell you. Too many would lose too much to allow the world to turn to this simple plant which can be grown almost anywhere. Exactly. It's all about economics and politics. This is just one example of how greedy replaces common sense in the conduct of human affairs, correct? So give this book to everyone you know, not only so that they get this, but so that they get everything else the book has to say, and still a great deal more. Just turn the page. Yeah, but I'm starting to feel depressed. Oh my God, you are so touchy. You are a man, a grown-up man, so touchy. Like a lot of people say they felt after book 2. Yeah, because they don't want to wake up. Because they kind of shake your alicerce, shake your foundations, your cocoon, your comfort zone. And many humans doesn't want to come out from their comfort zone. They are just okay. They are too okay. They have enough money to eat. They have enough money to buy expensive stuffs, to travel. What they care about the environment, what they care about the animals, what they care about one another, what they care about their own family, their own parents, their own children. Why would they care? As long as they are feed that stupid body of theirs. Are you up for being inspired? Are you up for being excited? So yeah, but I'm starting to feel depressed. Like a lot of people say they felt after book 2. Is this going to be more and more talk about how we are destroying things here? It must be said. You all must listen. And I really blow it because I'm not sure I'm up for this. Are you up for being inspired? Are you up for being excited? Because learning about and exploring what other civilizations, advanced civilizations are doing should both inspire, excite you. Think of the possibilities. Think of the opportunities. Think of the golden tomorrows just around the corner. If we wake up, you will wake up. You are wake up. The paradigm is shifting. The world is changing. It's happening right in front of your eyes. This book is part of it. You are part of it. Remember, you are in the room to heal the room. You are in the space to heal the space. There is no other reason for you to be here. Don't give up. Don't give up. The grandest adventure has just begun. Bravo. Good, sister. Go on, sister. This is not a male, this is female energy. Alright, I choose to be inspired by the example and wisdom of highly evolved beings, not discouraged by it. Good. That is a wise choice, given where you say you want to go as a species. You have much you can remember from observing these beings. Hebes live in unity and with a deep sense of interrelatedness. Their behaviors are created by their sponsoring thoughts, what you might call the basic guiding principles of their society. Your behaviors too are created by your sponsoring thoughts, or the basic guiding principles of your society. Yeah, but habits, or how some aliens have been there where we are right now. So they have evolved, and like we are still back. We are still crawling in evolution, a mental and conscious evolution. Okay, so now we are start a paradigm shift. It's time for us to start, rather than crawl, we must stand up and start to give the first step to a better world, to a better tomorrow. What are the basic guiding principles of a happy society? Their first guiding principle is, we are all one. We are the world. Every decision, every choice of what you would call morals and ethics is based upon this principle. The second guiding principle is, everything in the one interrelates. Under this principle, no one member of a species could or would keep something from another simply because he had it first, or is his possession, or it is in short supply. The mutual dependency of all living things in the species system is recognized and honored. The relative needs of every species of living organism within the system are always kept in balance, because they are always kept in mind. Does the second guiding principle mean there is no such thing as personal ownership? Not as you understand it. Ahab experiences personal ownership in the sense of holding personal responsibility for every good thing in his care. The closest word in your language to describe what a highly evolved being feels about what you would call a prized possession is stewardship, or a husbandry. Ahab is a steward, not a owner. Yeah, he is only borrowed to them, is lended to them. We borrow all this. We are the steward of the things we have here. If anything, we are the husbandman. We are not the owner. The word own and your concept behind it are not part of the culture of herbs. There is no such thing as possession in the sense of something being a personal belonging. Herbs do not possess. Herbs cares. They care. That is, they hold, embrace, love and care for things, but they do not own them. Imagine some of us here even want to possess one another. Man possessing human, and human possess men, and they possess their children. There's a vicious circle going on here. Humans possess, have, cares. In your language, this is how the difference could be described. Earlier in your history, humans felt they had the right to personally possess everything they laid their hands on. This included the wives and children. Correct. Correct. It's like they are reading my mind. Land and the riches of the land. So come the monarchy, as there have been in Orion, Sirius. So in this context, they cannot also blame us because I just started, but this is start of world first, and they must recognize this. You habs must recognize that all started from all of you. Okay, we have copied from you. So since you have climbed up the ladder, you cannot look down at those who are still on the first and degrees, second step of this ladder to climb in the evolution ladder. Okay. So they try to possess everything: wives, children, land, the rich of the land, stuff, and whatever other stuff, their stuff could get them, was also theirs. Much of this belief is still held as truth today in human society. Humans became obsessed with this concept of ownership. Hebs who watched this from a distance called this your possession obsession. Correct. Very, very true. Now, as you have evolved, you understand more and more that you can really, truly possess nothing, least of all your spouses and children, and even some women who want to possess their men. But it's a few, but there are. Okay, you cannot possess nobody. So at least the males want to possess the females and their children. You doesn't own them. I also am a mother and grandmother of 6 and a mother of 4, and I have raised up one extra, and I do not possess them. I brought up children for the world, not for me, and not to be my saving account tomorrow either. Okay, if they want to give by free will, by heart, but not because it's their duty. Although I have been a good daughter and have helped my mother a lot in many ways, I don't expect this from my sons and daughters. But it's a shame when we don't recognize our parents as we grown up. But that's their karma, not mine. It's not my responsibility. It's not my karma. It's their karma. Many of you, though, still cling to the notion that you can possess land and everything on it, under it, and over it. Yes, you even talk about air rights. My God, imagine atmosphere rights. Oh, you want this, or you want this part of the sea. Oh, I want this part of the atmosphere. The heads of the universe, by contrast, deeply understand that the physical planet beneath their feet is not something that can be possessed by any single one of them. Although an individual heb may be granted through the mechanism of his or her society a parcel of land for which to care. If she is a good steward of the land, she may be asked to pass stewardship on to her offspring, and they to theirs. Yet, if at any time either he or his offspring prove to be poor stewards of the land is no longer kept in their care. Wow! If that were the guiding principle here, how the industries in the world would have to give up their property? And the world's ecosystem would dramatically improve overnight. You see, in a highly evolved culture, A corporation, as you call it, would never be allowed to despoil the land in order to make a profit, for it would be clearly seen that the quality of the lives of the very people who own or work for the corporation are being irrevocably damaged. What is is perfect there in that, which is what is perfect there in that. This book is quite old, so some word is kind of fading away, so I cannot. Never mind. Well, the damage might not be felt for many years, whereas the benefits are realized right here, right now. So that would be called short-term profit, long-term loss. But who cares about long-term loss if you are not going to be there to experience it? Highly evolved beings do, but then they live a lot longer. Yeah, that's the difference. Because they will hang around a long time to see things change again. How much longer? Many times longer. In some happy societies, beings live forever, or as long as they choose to remain in corporal form. So in hub societies, individual beings are usually allowed to experience the long-term consequences of their actions. How do they manage to stay alive so long? Of course, they are never not alive any more than you are. But I know what you mean. You mean with the body. Yes, how do they manage to stay within their bodies for so long? Why is this possible? Technology, regeneration of cells, I would say. Well, first, because they don't pollute the air. No, I don't buy that. There's another way for them to regenerate their cells, their DNA, or even transplant consciousness. Well, first, because they don't pollute the air, their water, and their land. They do not put chemicals into the ground, for instance, which are then taken up by plants and animals and are brought into the body upon consumption of those plants and animals. A herb, in fact, would never consume an animal, much less fill the ground and the plants which the animals eat with chemicals. They fill the animal itself with chemicals and then consume it. A herb would correctly assess such a practice to be suicidal. You mean certain herb, highly evolved beings, but not all. Some do eat animals in the forest and even come to our houses to eat our animals. Some does. So herbs do not pollute their environment, their atmosphere, and their own corporal bodies as humans do. Your bodies are magnificent creations made to last infinitely longer than you allow them to. Highly evolved beings also exhibit different psychological behaviors that equally prolong life, such as a herb never worries, and I wouldn't even understand the human concept of worry or stress. Of course not. After all, you live in a better, maybe a better society than ours. Neither would a herb hate or feel rage or jealousy. I think you ask too much of humans, given where we are, or panic. Therefore, the herb does not produce biochemical reactions within her own body that eat away at it and destroy it. A herb would call this eating itself, and a herb would no sooner consume itself than it would consume another corporal being. How does a herb manage this? Are humans capable of such control over emotions? given where we live now, I find it very difficult unless we kind of isolate ourselves. First, a herb understands that all things are perfect, but there is a process in the universe that is working itself out, that all they have to do is not interfere with it. So a herb never worries because a herb understands the process. And to answer your second question, yes, humans have this control, although some don't believe they have it, and others simply don't choose to exercise it. The few who do make an effort to live a great deal longer, assuming chemicals and atmospheric poisons haven't killed them. Not yet, but that is low. And also assuming they haven't voluntarily poisoned themselves in other ways, with food and water. Wait a minute, we voluntarily poison ourselves? Some of you do, yes. How? As I said, you eat poisons. Some of you drink poisons. Some of you even smoke poisons. A highly evolved beings find such behaviors incomprehensible. He can't imagine why would you deliberately take into your bodies substances that you know can't be doing you any good. Well, we find eating, drinking, smoking certain things enjoyable. A herb finds life in the body enjoyable and can't imagine doing anything that she knows ahead of time could limit or terminate that or make it painful. Well, good for you all, because we here are screwed up. Some of us don't believe that eating red meat plentifully, drinking alcohol or smoking plants will limit or terminate our lives or make them painful. Then your observational skills are very dull. They need sharpening. A herb would suggest that you simply look around you. Yes, well, what else can you tell me about what life is like in the high level of the societies of the universe? There is no shame. No shame? No any such thing as guilt. How about when a being proves to be bad steward of the land? You just say they take the land away from him. Does that mean he's been judged and found guilt? No, it means he's been observed and found unable. In highly evolved cultures, being would never be asked to do something they have demonstrated the inability to do. What if they still wanted to do it? They would not want to. Why not? Their own demonstrated inability would eliminate their desire. This is a natural outcome of their understanding that their inability to do a particular thing could potentially damage another. This they would never do, for to damage the other is to damage the self, and they know this. So it is still self-preservation that drives the experience, just like on earth. Certainly, the only thing that is different is their definition of self. A human defines self very narrowly. You speak of yourself, your family, your community. A herb defines self quite differently. She speaks of the self, the family, the community, as if there were only one. There is only one. There is only one. That's the whole point. I understand. And so, in a highly evolved culture, a being would never, for instance, insist on raising offsprings if that being consistently demonstrated to itself its own inability to do so. That's correct. That's very, very wise. Look around us, children being murdered, being abused psychologically and physically wise. Dysfunctional people, dysfunctional family, etc. Only because children are being raising children. This is why in highly evolved cultures, children don't raise children. Offsprings are given to elders to raise. This doesn't mean that new offspring are torn from those who gave them life, taken from their arms and given to visual strangers to raise. It's nothing like that. In these cultures, elders live closely with the young ones. They are not shuffled off to live by themselves like our society. Elderly become a burden to the son and daughter, are sent to homes, sent to hospice, and just shun off. In most society in this world, they are not ignored and left to work out their own final destinies. They are honored, revered, and held close and part of a loving, caring, vibrant community. So I'm going to repeat. In these cultures, elders live closely with the young ones. They are not shuffled off to live by themselves. They are not ignored and left to work out their own final destinies. There is some who even have the guts and the cruelty to send their elders to die alone in the forest. And even some who kills their parents, their elder ones. This is a tragedy. These people are really stupid here. They are honored, revered, and held close and part of a loving, caring, vibrant community. And some society does not respect the elderly. That's a shame. They are very, very rude, and they call themselves the best society, the superior, and the ones who actually have family ties, very close family ties, and that they look after their elders. All bluff, all narcissisms and lies, and we live among them. We see the reality. When a new offspring arrives, the elders are right there, deep within the heart of that community and that family, and they are raising of the offspring is as organically correct as it feels in your society to have the parents do this. The difference is that though they always know who their parents are, the closest term in their language would be life givers. These offspring are not asked to learn about the basics of life from beings who are still learning about the basics of life themselves, because some parents have children at their 20s, some even their teens. What they can offer for the new beings that just come out? Nothing in terms of wisdom, of good experience, love and care. For those who have done it, well, good for you. I have mine at 18. I wasn't a perfect parent, but I tried my best to protect them, to care for them, and to love them, and offer them the best that I could afford. But it was not enough for them because they are after more material stuff that I couldn't then provide for them. Beyond the basic care, the basic needs like education, shoe, clothing, toys, and food. They wanna branded goods, you know what I mean? Who I still learn about the basic of life themselves. In hard societies, the elders organize and supervise the learning process as well as the housing, feeding and caring for the children. How can this elderly do that? It's not fair for me to know that my mother have caring for me and now have to care for my children. Why would I do that? Why I be so stupid and cruel? I would never do this to my mother, never, and my grandmother, never, ever, ever. I'll take care of my children by hooks and crooks. And I've done that. Offspring are raised in an environment of wisdom and love, great patience and deep understanding. I think the younger ones who should care for them, wash them, but the elderly they should be there to guide and tell the parents what not to do in terms of violence, brutal, savage behavior. Okay, that's where the role of the grandparents is there to when their son or daughters whatever is angry with the children, to pacify them. The young ones who give them life are usually off somewhere, meeting the challenges and experiencing the joys of their own young lives. They may spend as much time with their offspring as they choose. They may even live in the dwelling of the elders with the children, to be right there with them in a home environment and to be experienced by them as part of it. It is all a very unified, integrated experience. But it is the elders who do the raising, who take the responsibility. And it is an honor for upon the elders is placed the responsibility for the future of the entire species. And in Hub societies, it is recognized that this is more than should be asked of young ones. I touched on this earlier when we talked about how you raise offspring on your planet and how we might change that. I have seen this pattern going on where daughters or sons throw their children to the parents, to their parents. I mean the children grandparents. Okay, and what happened is that these parents becomes irresponsible, good for nothing. They don't know what's responsibility and caregiving. What happens, what ends, is that they keep on bringing more and more and more offspring for the parents to take care of. Financially and physically wise, when the grandparents should now rest and go out to enjoy the little short time they have left here on earth. So for me, this is not a good advice. I would not advise this to anybody to follow, because I myself, I have children at teen age. Okay, and today 3 are married, 1 is still studying and working. Okay, and the 3 are married and working. They have finished their careers and they did well. Okay, so I would never discourage young people from looking after your children yourself. Don't give burden to your parents. One of my daughter do this to me. Okay, I raised her daughter and she didn't even say thank you when she finally migrated to other country. She didn't even say thank you for everything that I have done for her without asking a cent in return. I have done for her and her daughter, my older granddaughter. So I would say, don't do this to your parents, because it's not fair. Your parents need rest now that they have finished to raise you up, and what your parents need is to go on vacation if they can, or they will, and rest. Don't care about children anymore, because children are for people who have more energy, for people who without pain, without chronic pain. Some older people have chronic pain and they are not in a mental state to looking after children. Maybe the kids come um, on weekend. Okay, come over. Yeah, no problem. We go there to their houses. Okay, we play with them. If we can take them and go out, take them and go out. But don't raise them. Let your sons and daughters do this because they need to learn responsibility. If I have done that, if many had, and I have done it alone without maid, without family, without husband support, so totally alone, you know, totally alone. It was not easy. It's a very tough job, very tiring, very painful also. But I have done it. Yes, and thank you for further explaining this and how it could work. So getting back, Ahab does not feel guilt or shame no matter what he does. No, because guilt and shame is something which is imposed on a being from outside of itself. It can then be internalized. No question about that. It is initially imposed from the outside, always. No divine being, and all beings are divine, ever knows itself or anything it is doing to be shameful or guilt until someone outside of itself labels it that way. In your culture, is a baby ashamed of its bathroom habits? Of course not. Not until you tell it to be. Does a child feel guilt for pleasuring itself with what? 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 What the heck I'm rereading here. What the heck's this? My God, I don't even to talk about to really mention about. My God, I don't see a child think about this stuff. I was a kid and I didn't think about pleasuring myself. What the heck's this? Unless it's a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, 16, then it's different. But a child, an infant, pleasuring himself unless he's possessed, I cannot digest it. Is a baby ashamed of his bathroom habit? Of course not. Not until pressing himself with genitals. Of course not. Not until you tell it to feel guilt. I think this is referring to teenagers. Teenagers is okay to feel because their hormones are how to say, their hormone is now very active. It's racing all around. And they need to release, and they have a lot of sexual hormone, and also they don't have enough experience in life, so they want to release anxiety or even to pleasure themselves this way through how to say masturbation. I would say touch themselves. It's okay, they are teenager. Okay, it's allowed. 15-year-old, 16, 17, okay, fine. But one child, one infant, no, I don't accept it. The degree to which a culture is evolved is demonstrated by the degree to which it labels a being or any action shameful or guilty. Are no actions to be called shameful? Is a person never guilty no matter what he does? As I have already told you, there is no such thing as right and wrong. There are some people who still don't understand that. Yeah, it is very difficult to, I don't know, maybe because I'm human, I have a very difficult, how to say, I have a very difficult problem and grasp all this and accept it. There is something is wrong. For me to do something to a child is wrong, something negative to a child. To abuse a child, to me, is wrong. To me, to abuse an animal is wrong. To abuse an elderly is wrong. There are some people who still don't understand that. To understand what is being said here, this dialogue must be read in its entirety. Taking any statement out of context could make it not understandable. Books 1 and 2 contain detailed explanation of the wisdom above. You are asking me here to describe the highly evolved cultures of the universe. They already understand this wisdom. Okay, how else are these cultures different from our own? In many other ways, they do not compete. They realize that when one loses, everyone loses. They therefore do not create sports and games which teach children and perpetuate in adults the extraordinary thought that someone winning while another is losing is entertainment. Yeah, like games of chance, etc. Also, as I said, they share everything. When another is in need, they would never dream of keeping or holding something they had, simply because it was a scarce supply. On the contrary, that would be their very reason for sharing. I do that. I have always done that. In your society, the price goes up for that which is rare. If you share it all, and this way you ensure that if you are going to share something which you possess, at least you will be enriched doing it. That's correct. Highly evolved beings are also enriched by sharing rare things. The only thing that is different between herbs and humans is how herbs define being enriched. A herb feels enriched by sharing everything freely without needing to profit. Indeed, this feeling is the profit. There are several guiding principles of your culture which produce your behaviors. As I said earlier, one of your most basic one is survival of the fittest. This might be called your second guiding principle. It underlies everything your society has created. Its economics, its politics, its religions, its education, its social structures. Yet, to a highly evolved being, the principle itself is an oxymoron. It's self-contradiction. Since the first guiding principle of a herb is we are all one, the one is not fit until the all is fit. Survival of the fittest is therefore impossible, or the only thing that is possible, therefore, a contradiction, since the fittest is not fit until it is. Are you following this? Yes, we call it communism. On your planet, you have rejected out of hand any system which does not allow for the advancement of one being at the expense of another. If a system of governance of economics requires an attempt at equitable distribution to all of the benefits created by all, with the resources belonging to all, you have said that system of governance violates the natural order. Yet, in highly evolved cultures, the natural order is equitable sharing. Good. But, this cannot strip the being from their natural and free will expression, like in communism country they do. Even if a person or group has done nothing to deserve it, even if there has been no contribution to the common good, even if they are evil, the common good is life. If you are alive, you are contributing to the common good. It's very difficult for a spirit to be in physical form. To agree to take such form is, in one sense, a great sacrifice. yet one that is necessary, and even enjoyed. If the all is to know itself experientially, and to recreate itself anew in the next grandest versions of the greatest visions it ever held about who it is. It's important to understand why we came here. We, those souls which make up the collective. You are losing me. As I have already explained, there is only one soul, one being, one essence. Some of you call this God. The single essence individuates itself as everything in the universe. In other words, all there is. This includes all the sentient beings, what you have chosen to call souls. And I call this not God, I call this atoms. In cosmology and atoms. So God is every soul there is. Every soul there is now, ever was and ever will be. Yeah, but different atoms create different things. And that maybe the void, the black hole, there's another kind of atoms, who knows? They have created different things. Every soul there is now, ever was. So God's collective. That's the word I choose because it comes close in your language to describe how things are. Not a single wholesome being, but a collective. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Think outside the box. God is both a single wholesome being, which is a collective of individualized parts. Good, very good. So for this being, God is both a single awesome being, which is a collective of individualized parts. These are atoms which propagates and divides itself. And why did the collective come to earth? To express itself in physicality, to know itself in its own experience, to be God, as I've already explained in detail in book 1. You created us to be you. We did, indeed. That is exactly why you were created. And humans were created by a collective. Your own Bible said, "Let us create man in our image, and after our likeness." Before the translations changed. Life is the process through which God creates itself, and God has atoms. Then what you mean is that aliens came and then they kind of manipulate our humans' DNA and contribute to their DNA into us. Life is the process through which God creates itself and then experiences the creation. This process of creation is ongoing and internal. It is happening all the time. Relativity and physicality are the tools with which God works. There's no God, atoms. Pure energy, what you call spirit, is what the atoms is, I would say. This essence is through the Holy Spirit, by a process through which energy becomes matter. Spirit is embodied in physicality. I don't think that there's something as a spirit. There's a mechanism, something like energy or a kind of program that calls spirit, but there's no such thing as a spirit per se. It's not something that is spiritual or religions or cult or mysterious. This is simple science. Pure energy, which you call spirit, what is God is through the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit could be, I don't know, is these aliens who try to be God. By process through which energy becomes matter, spirit is embodied in physicality. This is done by the energy literally slowing itself down changes its oscillation, or what you would call vibration. That which is all does this and parties. That which is all does this and part, and that is all is what? The atoms that comes from the cosmos. That is part of the whole do this. These individuations of a spirit are what you have chosen to call souls. That means the atoms created beings, and beings have given birth to other beings, and other beings have given birth to other beings, so on and so forth. In truth, there is only one soul, reshaping and reforming itself. This might be called the reformation. You are all God's information. God's information, or separate information. That is your contribution. It is sufficient unto itself. To put this simply, by taking physical form, you have already done enough. I need nothing more. You have contributed to the common good. You have made it possible for that which is common, the one common element, to experience that which is good. Even you have written that God created the heavens and the earth, and the animals who walk upon the land, and the birds of the air, and the fishes of the sea, and it was very good. Good cannot exist experientially without its opposite, which is evil. Therefore, heavy was created the evil, which is the backward motion or opposite direction, which means also lives. Evil in English, putting backward, is live. So good cannot exist experientially without its opposite. Therefore, heavy was created the evil, which is the backward motion or opposite direction of good. Bipolarity, duality. It's the opposite of life, and so have you created what you call death. Yet, death does not exist in ultimate reality, but it is merely a concoction, an invention, an imagined experience through which life becomes more valued by you. Thus, evil is life, spelled backward. So clever you are with languages. You fold its secret wisdoms that you do not even know are there. You fold into its secret wisdoms that you do not even know are there, because you all constructed that. You aliens, not quite we. Now when you understand this entire cosmology, you comprehend the great truth. You could then never demand of another being that it give you something in return for your sharing the resources and necessities of physical life. Yeah, but many people, no matter how they try, they cannot get what they need, not even what they want, but what they need. Okay, there's people live on the streets. I know they would say, oh, there's your society problem. Yeah, partly yes, but if you are not to needy clothing or needy food to sustain us, we would not be in this predicament. As beautiful as there are still some people who would call it communism. If they wish to do so, then so be it. Yet I tell you this, until your community of beings knows about being in community, you will never experience holy communion, and cannot know who I am. The highly evolved cultures of the universe understand deeply all that I have explained here. Do they have a say in a way? After all, they live in hive mind. In those cultures, it would not be possible to fail to share, nor would it be possible to think of charging increasingly exorbitant prices. The more rare necessity became. Only extremely primitive societies would do this. Yeah. Only very primitive beings would seek scarcity of that which is commonly needed as an opportunity for greater profits. Yeah. Right now, after the pandemic, everything skyrocket. All the prices, all the price of consumers and goods. Supply and demand does not drive the hub system. This is part of a system that humans claim contributes to their quality of life and to the common good. Yet, from the vantage point of a highly evolved being, your system violates the common good, for it does not allow that which is good to be experienced in common. Another distinguishing, fascinating feature of highly evolved cultures is that within them there is no word or sound for, nor any way to communicate the meaning of the concept of yours and mine. Yeah, we start this as a child. This is mine, I don't want to share my toys. Personal possessives do not exist in their language, and if one were to speak in earthly tongues, one could only use articles to describe things. Employ that convention. My car becomes the car I'm now with. My partner or my children becomes the partner or the children I'm now with. The term now with or in the presence of is as close as your languages can come to describing what you would call ownership or possession. That which you are in the presence of becomes the gift. These are the true presents of life. Just in the language of highly evolved cultures, one could not even speak in terms of my life, but could only communicate the life I am in the presence of. This is something akin to your speak of being in the presence of God. But who is God if not the atoms? When you are in the presence of God, which you are anytime you are in the presence of each other, you would never think of keeping from God that which is God's, meaning any part of that which is. You would naturally share and share equally that which is God's with any part of that which is God. Wait a minute. It says that we are all God, alright? So, in this context, why would we say in the presence of God, referring to another as separate from us, when it says that we are all one with this God thing? Actually, what that means is that the one kind of monarch aliens which is calling the shots, which has all the power. This was the term God here, and not the real the atoms that created the everything, inclusive these creatures. This is the spiritual understanding which undergirds the entire social, political, economic, and religious structures of all highly evolved cultures. This is the cosmology of all of life, and is merely failure to observe this cosmology, to understand it and to live within it, which creates all of the discard of your experience on earth. That's all for chapter 18.